Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
All right, welcome to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio with me, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth. And we're grilling up something different today, literally. What started as a dirty backyard chore is now a booming six-figure business model. And the man behind it, a visionary who saw flames, grease, and untapped gold in America's favorite summer pastime. Jeffrey Krentzman is the founder of the BBQ Cleaner, a wildly successful mobile franchise system that's helped over 300 entrepreneurs launch their own grill cleaning businesses without franchise fees, brick and mortar, or years of red tape, which I know a lot of you guys out there are like, man, where were you a long time ago, Jeffrey? He turned stainless steel into recurring revenue and built a brand that's been recognized as one of the top low-cost franchises in the country. Get ready to hear how he cleaned up the competition and how you can too. Jeffrey, welcome to Mr. Biz Radio.
Thank you. Looking forward to it, Ken. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I know. Since we it's been taking us a while. I know we had some fits and starts here and there, but I'm looking forward to having you on. Like I was telling you before we got started here, the journey, and even, like I said, I did some obviously show prep and did some research, but I'm really curious selfishly to hear some of this as well, and some more of the granular details of how you came up with this and really have obviously grown it exponentially. So tell us, I mean, I guess starting back before the BBQ Cleaner, even tell us about a little bit about your career or entrepreneurial journey, if you would.
Sure. I was a student at Boston University. I'll date myself here, but it was the early 2000s. We'll leave it at that. We don't need to be specific on the year.
That's right.
I kind of knew I wanted to do my own thing. My goal originally was to stay in the city of Boston. I live in New Jersey, but was to stay in Boston. And when I graduated, the lease on my apartment, I was living off campus, expired or terminated, if you will, August 31st. And all of us were, struggling to find a job so we could stay in Boston, couldn't do so. That was actually the year of 9/11. So now I've really dated myself. And if you know anything about those times, the job market was decimated, particularly in the Northeast. So I moved back home, and a couple years later, after doing a couple employee options, I decided, hey, I'm young, and if I'm going to try and feed this entrepreneurial itch that I don't have a mortgage on a house, I don't have a wife, I don't have kids to support, this is probably the time to take the plunge. And that was kind of how it all started in the background scheme of things.
Interesting. Yeah. So you and I have a similar type of background as far as that goes, although you were much smarter about it than me, because I I got into my corporate career and things started to take off pretty quickly. And for me, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm making like, pretty decent money pretty early on. It's like I didn't have a wife and a family or anything like that, but it's like, well, how the heck am I going to replace this income? And so it took me
Right.
a while. It took me further into my career where I could build up some capital and things like that, to where I finally was able to scratch that entrepreneurial itch and start my own thing. But you've grown it. It's over, like I said, over 300 mobile operators. What was the entrepreneur moment that made you realize that this wasn't just a service, but it's actually a viable business model?
I think honestly, when we saw the reactions in the beginning of our customers, and it's been consistent really now for the 19 years we've done it in New Jersey. I mean, the customers go crazy for it, and it kind of, the reasons that they were going crazy for it and still to this day could be replicated in some of those 300 other markets. So I think once we saw really firsthand how happy the customers were and how in demand this sort of business was, that was kind of the moment where, hey, there might be something here outside of this market along with what we're doing here.
So was there Jeffrey, was there an epiphany moment for you? Like, were you sitting around, having some adult frescas with your buddies, and you're like, man, I got to clean the grill, and all of a sudden someone's like, man, I hate cleaning the grill, and then a light bulb went off. Like, how did that all come to fruition for you to even have the idea to start a business like this?
Yeah, so originally it actually started as an oven cleaning business. We took the concept from a company that's been doing it successfully, and they still are in the UK. And the UK
Okay.
and the US are very different. The US, we love our Sunday cookouts and all that stuff, and out hanging with your buddies, Memorial Day, July 4th, etc. The UK, that culture doesn't exist because it rains all the time. It's just not big there, and they do oven cleaning. And our goal was to replicate the model that they had there and bring an oven cleaning business here to North Jersey. We started it as a 6-month pilot test in 2006, which was genius now looking back, because we didn't have long-term contractual obligations. So if it didn't work, we could easily say, hey, we tried for 6 months. We're going to go a different direction. The UK will go a different direction. And hey, it was a good run. And if it didn't, we would then explore going further. And the first couple months, July to March, were okay. I mean, they weren't great. They weren't terrible. But when the season started to turn and we would be at people's houses doing oven cleaning, they would say, hey, while you're here, can you clean our grill? And we would say, no, we don't do that. That's not what we do. Until it got to a point where so many people were asking for it that we kind of figured out, hey, what mods do we have to make to this oven system to get it to work? And thankfully, it was very minimal modifications. And then we decided to run an ad, and it hasn't shut up in 19 years since that first ad has run. I mean, it's really how it all started. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. And so there's always, we've been doing a show for a long time now. We have tons of entrepreneurs on, and there always seems to be, in almost every case, a situation where there's some sort of shift in the model, right? So, and for you guys, it sounds like, the oven cleaning, like, well, no, we don't clean grills, we clean ovens. And after a while, you're like, wait a minute. I got, I was on 6 appointments today and 4 people asked me about the grill. Like, maybe there's something there. I mean, and the pivot to that. So did you just completely abandon the oven cleaning, or you guys still do that as well?
No, we still do. Look, I mean, I would say probably across the country, 99% of the appointments we do are grill cleaning. But the oven cleaning is still there. It's more popular in the winter markets. Like, in up here, for example, December, January, it's not really a grilling time of year. And the oven cleaning dovetails nicely because it's the holiday time. So you have a lot of people using it. So it can be, it's more popular in the winter, but it pales in comparison to the popularity of the grill cleaning sector.
Yeah, interesting. It's funny you say that, and I'm sure where you're at probably gets colder. We're based in Columbus, Ohio. We have some cold in the winter as well, but I grill 12 months a year. I mean, I'm out there sometimes in a toboggan, running out on the deck and checking the burgers or checking the steaks or whatever, because we love grilling. And it was interesting to me too when when you and I kind of connected, is cleaning the grill is a pain in the arse. I mean, every year it's when I'm fire that thing up the first time, when the season changes, once the weather gets nicer, I'm not gonna be out there cleaning it in the snow, obviously, but it's like, or my wife will go out and turn it on and she'll be like, when are you gonna clean the grill? It's like the annual kind of pain in the butt of cleaning it. And I'm sure the way I do is probably way less efficient and probably ages the grill a lot more than what you guys do, since you have a system and everything. So curious to kind of hear about some of those things. We're running out of time here, so I don't want to cut it short with a question and try to have you answer it quickly. So I'll just mention, guys, again, you can go out to and we'll put this in the show notes as well, but the bbqcleaner.com is Jeffrey's website. You can go out there if you're interested in getting cleaning done. As well as if you're interested in talking about franchise and what that looks like. And we're going to talk about more of that, specific details about, what a franchise looks like and things like that in the next segment. So definitely come back after the break and continue talking with Jeffrey Krentzman here. And so a couple of things I want to hit on, Jeffrey, in the next segment is, how do you identify this such high profit potential? And then, some of those growing things with no franchise fees, and how do you make that work?
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit getpulsetools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show again, talking with Jeffrey Krentzman this week. So, Jeff, I want to get into this. I'm actually absolutely blown away that you've been able to grow this. I've done some work as in my real job with franchise systems and them growing and some of the pain and all that kind of stuff. I'm absolutely amazed that you've been able to grow to over 300. I mean, because the percentage of people who say they want a franchise and actually get to anything, I mean, honestly, above 50 is kind of like a line of demarcation of like, man, if you can get 50 locations, that's pretty impressive. And you've gotten over 300. So, I mean, I see, with the average cleaning price being, a decent amount of money, but nothing too crazy, but you've got that recurring annual demand. Like I mentioned myself personally, like having to clean my grill every year. How'd you identify that this market had such a high profit potential? Was it, kind of an offshoot of the oven thing, and it was kind of similar type thing, and that's how you just kind of ran with it?
I think probably the number one factor in the profit potential is it's a mobile business. You're not, you don't have retail space. You're not, renting an office. You're not renting a building or whatever it may be. So that right there alleviates a ton of cost. There's not a lot of overhead here at all. I mean, you're really looking at maybe an introductory marketing. A lot of people scale back on it because if you keep the marketing pedal down, you're going to get too busy and you can't keep up with the demand. So, you have the initial marketing, you have gas from point A to point B, insurance, basic business liability insurance, which is not that expensive either. So a lot of it really stems from, hey, there's not a lot of overhead here. We're not renting space. You're not paying rent or anything like that every month. So in the end, your margins are going to be really high. Your number one expense is labor. And for a lot of these locations in the beginning, the person doing the labor is the person who owns the business, right? So there's really a ton of money here to be made that's kept in your pocket at the end of each and every cleaning.
So I'm kind of curious, how many people, because I know you mentioned on the website even, you could do this part-time, you could do this full-time. What percentage of people do you think that you have of the 300 plus that just kind of do this thing on the side, right? Maybe that I'm just thinking of a buddy of mine who's a firefighter, right? So he works 2 24-hour shifts every week. He's got a lot of downtime in between where he picks up some side hustle things here and there. And I'm thinking, man, this would be something that would be amazing for something like that. What percentage would you guess, if you don't know the number specifically, of the 300 plus are part-time versus maybe just a solo operator who's full-time, or the third version of being they've got, 6, 8, 10 people working for them?
I would say probably, and I don't know the exact number, but I'd say you're probably looking at 80% or more, or either full-time, solo operator, or, the multiple unit approach. There are some part-time. I mean, normally what we see with the part-time people, and again, one of the beauties here is the model kind of molds to what your specific situation is. But I think one of the things that's nice for those part-time people are consistent is, they're older, they're retired. They say to me, now I'm going to say something mean, but I'm only repeating what I'm told. Hey, I don't want to hang out in my house with my wife all day. I want to get out a couple hours a week and make some money. So they do this for part-time work, right? They'll, and the beauty here also is you can set your schedule. Hey, I want to go golfing Monday and Tuesday. My buddy's in town. I'll put cleanings on the schedule Wednesday and Thursday. And that's fine too. There's no real right or wrong way, but the vast majority of them are certainly full-time and beyond, especially when we see, if you look at like the people that really go up to the plate here and try and hit a grand slam and do the, as you mentioned, 10 employees and multiple crews and multiple units, those are probably more the younger people, the hungrier people, the 30 or 40-year-olds that say, look, I've got 30 years here to grow a business. But the majority of them are definitely on the older, I'm sorry, 80% or more, I would say for sure, are full-time.
Yeah, interesting. So I know the model emphasizes, no franchise fees, operators keeping profits, et cetera. How do you maintain, for you being, sort of the hub, how do you maintain your revenue while supporting all these franchisees?
Well, we have a couple different revenue streams. I mean, our most active revenue stream are all, the thousands of grills we clean here in this area, which really wouldn't affect you if you were someone in Columbus, Ohio, for example, that, getting started. We charge a little bit more upfront But really, I think the incentive is there to say to someone, look, you're going to keep 100% of what you make from this day forward for the next 50 years. We're not seeing a penny of it. Now, they do buy the ongoing cleaning supplies from us because they are proprietary, but they are extremely inexpensive. I mean, every time we have our operators go out and clean a grill, it costs them under $5 to clean a grill. So again, that comes back to what we were talking about before, margins and overhead. Your overhead is so small here, end of the day, on the other end of the seesaw. If your overhead is low, your margins are going to be pretty high.
Well, another thing I like about that, Jeffrey, and obviously it's easy for me to say now since you're so successful, right? Oh, Ken likes this, but maybe charging a little bit more up front is you're going to get people who are a little more serious. Again, like you said, the overhead's low, so the risk would be low if someone's giving this a shot. But I would think you're going to get people that are a little bit more invested, literally and figuratively, into making it work, if there is a little bit more skin in the game up front. Which leads me to my next question. As you're having new operators join, which obviously you've had a ton, what are some of those qualities that you look for in people? What makes some of the top performing folks that you have in your franchise system?
I think across the board, I mean, you're looking for people that want to work from home, want to set their own schedule, maybe want to be around their family, if they have a growing family. Versus, working, 8 or 9 hours a day and then an hour in, an hour out to wherever they are and they're not around. Those are kind of the people I think those are the common traits across the board that most people seem to have, is they want to work from home and they've kind of always wanted to do their own thing, kind of like what you were saying in the first segment. I think there's something to be said for when you have the entrepreneurial itch at whatever point you are in your life when you have it. I don't think it ever really goes away. It might lessen over time, but it's still going to be there. And I think for a lot of these people that have it, and then they look at the opportunity and they look at the success rate that we've had, which is staggering, these people want to give it a shot, and they want a shot.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Again, with the low entry barrier. Like you said, as far as the upfront costs and things like that, there's not nearly as much risk. So if you have someone who has had that itch, even if they have a decent job, I'd be curious to know, how many people say, oh, I got my own job, but I've kind of got this entrepreneur itch. I'll start this thing part-time and we'll see how it goes. And they're like, holy crap, this is a viable business. Like, heck with my 9 to 5. I'm going to do this full time.
So I'll give you a great story. Recently, about 4 months ago, we had a person start out. He was in finance. He's got I think his son is 1.5 years. He said, look, I'm driving an hour to take a ferry every day into the city that he's in. I don't want to do that forever. At some point, I want to build this on the weekends and at night until it gets to a point where I can leave the job. He left the job in 6 weeks, and he left. And he left I mean, it wasn't like he was making $50,000 a year, $90,000 a year in his finance gig. He's now rapidly trying to expand to keep up with the demand. So you're absolutely right in what you said, Ken.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Again, with all the things that you've made and you've set this thing up for success for people, and with the not that much risk to jump into this. Again, especially with people, just like you mentioned, Jeffrey, that, they've kind of had this itch. They don't know what they want to do. You've got this system already set up. You've got the proven track record, not 1, 10, 50, 100 franchises, but over 300. Obviously, you're an owner operator yourself, right? As far as being in this and having done it for so long. So another great resource, like if I get in and I fumbled a ball, I got a resource to call and go, hey man, I had this problem. You go, oh yeah, I had that problem too. Here's what you do, right? So, guys, we're gonna hit a break. Come back, talk to Jeffrey Krentzman more about some of the things that we run into as we're scaling our business. And so come back after the break on Mr. Biz Radio.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20 plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right, only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit GetPulseTools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, guys, this week again, talking with Jeffrey Krentzman, the BBQCleaner.com. And again, we'll put that in the show notes, the BBQCleaner.com. So, Jeff, I want to get into this. So I want to talk about, a lot of our listeners and viewers are business owners, entrepreneurs, et cetera. And, at some point probably want to scale. But before we even get into some of that, at what point did you figure out like, hey man, we could franchise this thing? And then what did that look like as far as taking steps to franchise and then obviously blowing it up as much as you guys have?
Well, I think the initial goal, even when it was an oven cleaning business, was to try down the road, get successful, prove yourself in the test market here in Northern New Jersey, and then franchise it out.
Okay.
I think we learned very quickly that there was definitely some viability here to franchise it out and have other people replicate the success. What we didn't want to do was rush to do that where we didn't have the answers on exactly what did we do right and also what have we done wrong, because we have an obligation still to this day, that when we have someone start up and we have another person opening up next week, to give them every, they want our knowledge. And, for us to have an understanding of, hey, here are the things we did that worked and here's how to do that. But here are the things that we did that didn't work that we wouldn't recommend you do. And so we waited about 3 years until 2009 to just do it locally and not offer it out there and not have our first other location open up until we felt really comfortable and confident that, hey, we know the things that we did that we would do again if we were starting out, and we also know the things we wouldn't do again if we were starting out.
Yeah, Jeffrey, I'm glad you brought that up because that's been my experience as well, is someone who does start a business with the idea of at some point franchising. I think a lot of times they jump to the franchising piece maybe a little bit too soon. And the absolute silly example I use, and it's a dated example as well, but you got a piece of paper and you take it to a copy machine, you make copy, and you compare the copy to the original. And you're like, it looks pretty close, right? Well, then you take the copy and you copy the copy, and then now you're two removed from the original. You compare the original to, and the point being that until you have the original business and the model operating at a 9.5 or a 10 out of 10, if you're starting at a 7.5 because you rushed to franchise this thing, and then you make a copy, that 7 out of 10 becomes a 6.5 or a 6 out of 10. And then the next copy is a 5. And, you go to further, the further you get away from the original, the worse it becomes. And so I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is something that I see people make mistakes on, is they rush to franchise too quickly. They don't have those answers, which is one of the things I wanted to ask you about is, what are some of those things that operators face, especially in the first year, maybe first, 6 months, it sounds like, with rapid growth, that they face, and how do you help them overcome those? Is there something that's common amongst people?
I think that the number one hurdle here to overcome for people starting out, not that it's difficult to do, is to educate the marketplace that you're in that this service exists. And so what we do is we arm them with an arsenal of different ways to do so. So we sit down with every owner and say, look, what is your goal here? Are you trying to do 10 cleanings a week? Or are you trying to do 40? Because what you don't want to do if you're trying to do 10 is spend as much money you spend the sort of money that's going to get you to 40. That's not what you wanted, right? Then you have too much. So by arming them and developing a marketing plan that's customized for them with our support and our experience, it gives them a really good chance of overcoming the hurdle. It's not very often at all that we have someone these days that starts out that calls us 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later and say, hey, we're very quiet here. What why is the phone not ringing? It's very, very hard to imagine that happening, because again, we're giving you the stuff that's worked.
Yeah, it makes sense. I guess on the flip side from that, Jeffrey, and you mentioned this, you alluded to a little bit, what are some of the things that you may have learned of the don'ts, right? As you guys, not only in your own original business, but even as you were franchising and growing and expanding operations and expanding locations, what are maybe a couple of things that you saw and you're like, man, I wish we wouldn't have done that?
You know what? The answer to that, I think, is just like if you look at the 19 years we've done this, is the complete change in print advertising. Like when we started out and we had the success that we had in 2006, we were so print heavy, and you had to be. And the problem
Sure.
with print is it cost a lot, right? You had to commit to a certain amount of issues or what, newspaper runs, whatever it was. And advertising back then was just not cost effective. Nowadays, I feel like there's so many more weapons that you have that don't cost a lot, are far more effective, and allows you to control kind of your audience and who's seeing your message. So when I look back at, like, I wish we didn't do that again. I'm just happy that we don't have to do the print road again, because I say this to people when they start up. I say, look, you have it so much easier than we did 19 years ago. It's not even close.
Sure.
So I don't know. I don't think there's things I wish we didn't do again on the marketing piece. I think it's just that I'm happy that the marketing world has shifted away from print, because it's made our life a lot easier and a lot more cost effective.
So interesting. So along those lines, when you outside of advertising for your own specific business, when you wanted to start franchising, did you take a similar approach in trying to reach potential franchisees with your advertising and things like that? How did you reach how do you continue to reach, I should say, new franchisees?
Yeah, so that's evolved too. Like, we used to be very print heavy. There used to be a couple small business magazines that were out there that, we would, kind of run the same ad every month, and it would deliver the same amount of results. And then it all of a sudden went out of business. This was probably 10, 15 years ago, because it was the print world. So now, lead generation on the franchise side is always an ongoing evolution. It never is. Every year is different in the things that we do. We'll introduce new things every year. Some of them will work, some of them won't. And it's kind of like anything. You take the money that you're spending on the things that you don't think are working and put it into the things that is working, and kind of do more of it. So it's changed the franchise recruitment. It's a challenge every year. I think it's actually one of the harder parts of my job is staying on top of that sector, because it's constantly evolving. Thankfully, we work with some marketing companies that know a lot more about that stuff than I do and are able to deliver, a pretty good amount of leads.
Yeah. So looking ahead, what's next for the BBQ Cleaner? Are you guys exploring new services beyond grills and ovens? You're expanding globally, some tech integration. What's on the frontier here?
Well, I think we're always looking at ways to improve. I mean, we don't have a perfect business here by any means. I mean, I don't think there is a perfect business. I think there's always ways you can improve. I mean, I'm constantly looking at things, and I'm getting feedback from people out there across the country and Canada that are saying, hey, I did this worked, I did this didn't work. So I think we're always trying to find ways to make the model even better. But I think going forward, our goal is, look, if it isn't broken, don't fix it. I mean, we've had a lot of success going this way. We have a ton of locations, including here in North Jersey, that just run on repeats and referrals. I mean, the North Jersey location has not advertised a penny since 2008. It's been 17 years.
Wow.
It's just complete.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's just completely run on autopilot. So we're not going to change a lot of things that aren't broken, but I think there's also always opportunities to look and say, hey, could we do this a little bit better? But I think overall, we're kind of looking forward to staying the course.
Well, what you just mentioned, Jeffrey, is obviously the hidden message behind that is obviously people are getting value out of it. You guys are providing a fantastic service, because they wouldn't keep coming back. You'd have to continue advertising, right? You've got these loyal customers, and I'm sure word of mouth is just absolutely bonkers as well. That's helped with that. So kudos to you and your team. Obviously, you're doing a lot of great things. And again, I'm not just patronizing you. I mean, growing to 300 plus, franchisees is absolutely amazing. So absolutely hats off to you guys. Obviously doing it the right way. And I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you, Ken. It was great being here. I hope to be back one day soon. Thank you.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Jeffrey. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And again, show notes, we'll put it in, but thebbqcleaner.com, Jeffrey Krentzman. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic rest of your week. And don't forget, as always, cash flow is king.
To become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100 plus streaming platforms at MrBizNetwork.com.